What's up, everybody? This is Tommy Rosen, and we are about 30 seconds away from the beginning of our Hangout, our webinar this evening. I am just so thrilled you guys are here. Make phone calls, send emails, get everyone else here as well. I am about to unleash, seriously about to unleash here, and wouldn't want anyone to miss it. I am honored and so pleased that you guys have come. Counting down 3, 2, 1, let's rock. My name is Tommy. This is the Recovery 2.0 webinar, and I am so pleased you guys have come out to hear a little bit about the Recovery 2.0 perspectives on addiction and recovery. We're going to take a look at a whole bunch of different issues in this next 45 to 60 minutes. I really want to encourage you, stay till the end. Some of the best nuggets and some of the best stuff's going to come there. So hang tight. First of all, let's tune in together. So wherever you are, if you can come either cross-legged or with your feet flat on the ground, bring your palms together at the heart and close your eyes for just a moment. Take a deep inhale and a full exhale. Inhale. Some of the best nuggets and some of the best stuff's going to come there. So hang tight. First of all, let's tune in together. So wherever you are, if you can come either cross-legged or with your feet flat on the ground, bring your palms together. Inhale deeply. And exhale fully. Take your deepest inhale and your fullest exhale. Allow the outside world, this day, the stresses and the worries, the concerns that you may have, allow them to drift away now. Bring yourself to a state of total presence by feeling the beat of your heart and becoming aware of your breath. Focus for just a moment on the sensations of the body. Take a deep inhale and a full exhale. Thank you so much. So we begin by stopping. We stop. We take a moment to allow the frenetic nature of our lives to calm. We take a moment in the felt experience of our life at this moment. The way is through the breath and by bringing our attention back to the body. While it has very physical, so the practices from to heart are going to be critical practices as we move beyond this frequency of addiction. Tonight, we're going to talk about some expanded perspectives on addiction. We'll get into a holistic approach to recovery as it's laid out in the Recovery 2.0 book. I want to start by telling you a few stories and to bring you into a better understanding of why we're sitting here and how I came to be here today. My story is really a story of recovery within recovery. What I've come to learn over the past 25 years of my own recovery is that there are stages of recovery where we first get sober, first get clean and sober, there are things that are needed during that stage. As we move forward on this path of recovery, our needs will change, we will change, our thinking will change, our body will change. Different than that previous stage. And then there'll be a stage beyond that stage, and a stage beyond that stage. And it would appear that on this path of recovery, we will never graduate. So I talk to students a lot, and I always say, anybody who graduates this course fails the course. There is no graduation. There can be no graduation when it comes to the process of moving towards our heart. And any spiritual path is really simply that process of becoming wholehearted. Becoming wholehearted. When I was stuck in addiction, first for me, we talk a lot about this in the book and in workshops, my first addictions were my mother's addictions. I inherited my mother's addictions when I was in the womb. She was drinking a lot. She was smoking a lot of cigarettes when she carried me. And so when I was born into this world, the first addictions that I had to release were off of alcohol, and I had to detoxify myself off of nicotine. So I imagine, though being born is probably very uncomfortable to begin with, I think I might have had it a little more difficult. But we all have to understand that we're dealt a set of cards, and we're coming from a history. And we take on certain things that we cannot help. We are dealt certain cards and we can't move beyond it. And so was the case with me. I was born into a family where there was a lot of beauty, a lot of smarts, a lot of possibility, a lot of opportunity, but a tremendous amount of pain and a tremendous amount of unresolved trauma that my parents actually carried physically in their bodies. And I could see it in their bodies when I understood what I was looking at. You may not have noticed it first, but really seeing how a human being can carry trauma, and trauma here we're going to define as any negative, unprocessed emotion, any emotion that we carry in our body. And so the wonderful statement is, your biology is your biography, or your biography will become your biology. And so as a yoga teacher, I look around the world and I see people, how they walk, I see how they breathe, I see how they carry themselves. And what I'm seeing in a lot of people is an extremely shallow breath. And I see that they carry their body in such a way where it speaks to me of fear. It speaks to me of fear. Their heart is closed off. Their lungs are constrained. They cannot actually take a full breath because of the way that their body has formed around their inhale. I really want you to get this piece that you inhale, your body will actually form around your breath. And that will determine a lot about the shape of your body and how you carry yourself. In a full exhale, release your shoulders and lift your heart. Draw the belly in slightly and see if you can sit in that elevated way and see if you can begin to develop a sense of comfort there. It's not the easiest thing to do. So trauma gets stuck into the tissues, the connective tissues and the cells and the joints in our body. Physical, emotional energy gets stuck there, and it needs to be processed through. See, all emotional stuck energy comes from the past. So something that's happened to us somewhere in the past, stuck emotional energy. So you see, on the path of recovery, we are going to have to unravel. We are going to have to work out that emotional energy. Now, if you stay here to the end of this talk, which will be just about 45 minutes from now, we'll have a Q&A as well. But if you stay here, I want to share with you one of the ways, one of the surefire ways you can process stuck energy right out of the body. But when we talk about trauma, what we're really talking about is the root of addiction. So I can say to you, my parents carried trauma in their body. It remained unresolved until the end of their lives. And actually, they developed very painful physical ailments as a result of their trauma. That got passed down to me. And that was passed down to me. And it became my job in this lifetime to work out those traumas, which I took into my body through their experience, through their stresses, through their tension, but also through my own experience of the world and my own thoughts and beliefs, actions and reactions to life. That through my own experience, I'm either allowing trauma to move through and I'm learning how to process these stuck emotional energies, or I'm adding to them. So my job on a path of recovery, especially, these are advanced recovery concepts. My job is to figure out, hey, I've got a stuckness. I've got a stuckness and it's showing up in my life somewhere. So if you take a moment and you think to yourself, where are the places that I'm stuck in my life? Where are the places that I would like to see some movement? I'd like to see some improvement. Maybe you carry a resentment that you'd like to let go of. Maybe you feel a sense of betrayal. Maybe you would like to bring more abundance into your life, or you'd like to bring more love and have more romance and more of a deeper romantic connection with somebody. These are all wonderful pursuits, and they're all wonderful things to desire. There's nothing wrong with any of that. Those are wonderful things. The question is, how do you actually get from the person that you are into the person that you would dream of being? The biggest, the best, the fullest version of yourself. How does that transformation take place? Well, for people who have struggled with addiction, the first part of that transformation is to recognize that there is an aspect to addiction that's actually bigger than we are. The main ingredient is humility. Now, humility is just seeing things correctly. It's actually perceiving reality in a right-sized kind of way. I'll give you a perfect example. I am humble enough to express to you today that even now at 23 years sober, I recognize that addiction, addictive thinking, and the phenomenon of craving is bigger than me. If those things get a foothold in my mental body, if I start thinking in an addictive way, if I start acting out in addictive ways, if that craving to reach outside of myself to feel better gets started in me, it's actually bigger than me. That I'm going to need help in order to get out of it. Because I've seen this again and again back in the days when I was using drugs and alcohol, but also through my recovery. And if you know my story at all, you know that I've gone through gambling addiction, codependency, sex addiction, cigarette addiction. I mean, I've really been through the ringer. And that's a part of why we're all sitting here talking today. So the humility that's necessary at the beginning is, I have a problem that is bigger than me. And even if you are already on a path of recovery, and many of the people in the room today, you might actually be 3 years sober, 5 years sober, 15 years sober. You could be 3 months sober. You could be working the 12 steps or any other modality of recovery. You could be in therapy. You could be a person in the field who works with addicts. Wherever you're at on your path, we need to have the humility on a day-to-day basis to actually say to ourselves, there is a version of me that I would like to attain today. And I recognize that unto my own devices, unto me alone, without a community of people, without love, without connection, without guidance, without support, without people to learn from, and without people to share with, I'm not going to be able to be that best version of myself. That we are actually social creatures. That everything in the world worthwhile is a co-creation, is a collaboration with each other. So there's nothing, I say to people all the time, there's nothing There's nothing we can do that's actually worthwhile that we get to do totally alone, completely, separate from other people. And you might think, well, what about running a marathon? Isn't that alone? Aren't I doing that by myself? It's like, well, likely if you're running a marathon, you probably trained with some people. Or maybe you read a book that somebody wrote about how to train for a marathon. Or you had a group of people supporting you through that process. And if nothing else, somebody had to make the sneakers that you're running in. Somebody had to make the clothes that you're wearing as you run through that marathon. And you know what? Somebody put the thoughts in your head that I'm enough, that I'm good enough, that I can train and get myself ready and actually run this marathon and see it through. So everything in life is a collaboration. So we're going to get on to our topic here. There's a million things I want to talk to you guys about. But what I promise you is that tonight I would talk to you about how you're in the driver's seat and how to get your power back. So that first step, is to have the humility to say, okay, I'm going to need some help. That once you get your help, once you're out of acute addiction, so once you've worked the 12 steps or whatever other modality of healing that you're in the middle of to help you move from, so for me it was drugs and alcohol. If you're moving from drug addiction, alcoholism, into a state of being where you're clean and sober on a one day at a time basis, at that point, now the question is, all right, how do I get through a day feeling good? How do I get through a day and manage this wild personality that is me? How do I get through a day and feel connected to my friends and family? How do I deal with my resentments? How do I, how do I move forward along a spiritual path? And, one of the answers that I want to give you tonight, and there's about probably 100 to 200 of them that I'll share on the coaching program that we're going to do starting December 3rd. But one of the things I want to impress upon you tonight is the importance of your physical self. And I'll bet many people in this room were not expecting me to go there because, we want to get into these spiritual concepts and God and spirituality and how do we get there. I really want to talk to you about the physical body. So here's a story. At my bottom in recovery, I was 12 years sober and very, very unhappy. I had put down drugs and alcohol, but I was still acting out in other addictive ways. And these other addictive behaviors were really costing me. And I was starting to carry a tremendous amount of stress in the body. Well, the body doesn't like stress. The body doesn't react well to stress. So what ended up happening for me was my lower back, completely seized up and gave out on me. And I don't mean just a little, spasm. I mean, I had like incredibly painful nerve sensations running down from my lower back, through my butt, through my hips, down my legs, all the way to my feet. And for about 9 months, I was crippled. And I found my way to the door of a teacher. I found my way to the door of a teacher. And this teacher's first question to me, and some of you who've read my book or have heard me write about him, the teacher's first question was, Tommy, what's your favorite toy? Favorite toy? I thought to myself, wow, my favorite toy. Well, how about my mountain bike? And he said, no, not your mountain bike. And I said, all right, well, how about my tennis racket? He said, no, Tommy, something you have with you all the time. And I said, well, my computer. And he laughed at me. He said, no, Tommy, not your computer. He said, Tommy, you are your favorite toy. Your body. Don't you understand that everything you're ever going to feel in your life, you're going to feel it in the body. If you're going to feel an emotion, it's going to be in the body. If you're going to feel bliss and joy and success and love and all those things, you're feeling that in the body. Well, my back was killing me that day. And I said, Guru Prem, my back's killing me. I don't feel like my body's my favorite toy. And he said, no, of course you don't. But this is what he said. When you heal, and he said, when you heal, you are going to find divine alignment. Your body will heal, and it will open up in ways that you can't currently imagine. And you will be able to access feeling and a flow to your life that you have not yet been able to access. Like a doorway that you've never been able to open, but you've always wanted to go through. You'll finally have the key to open that door. And beyond that door will be a level of understanding, of awareness, of consciousness, of peace, and of joy that you've never experienced. He said, you'll have that then, but of course you don't have that now. And sitting in front of this man, I knew he was telling the truth. Like truth with a, capital T. I knew that I was going to be okay. That I would find a way through this unbelievable pain, which I had brought about into my body through addictive behavior 12 years into my recovery. And right there, at that moment, Recovery 2.0 was born. I didn't know it at the time. The next thing my teacher, Guru Prem, said to me was, Tommy, I know how you're going to die. And, no one had ever said that to me before. It piqued a little curiosity. I said, okay, Guru Prem, how am I going to die? And he said, you're going to die on an exhale. On an exhale. And I quickly ran through a series of near-death scenarios, right? And I found that statement to be true. That I'm actually going to leave this planet. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to exhale. And then Guru Prem said, and you were born on an inhale, just like everybody else. So this was the first lesson. This was the first thing that I was taught, was the importance of the breath. Do you know that the breath is how you use the breath to unlock your power? In 12-step recovery and in recovery circles, we learn about powerlessness. In this world of yoga, in particular, the yoga I've been practicing and teaching, I teach Vinyasa yoga, but I also teach Kundalini yoga, which is what Guru Prem had taught me. And from the Kundalini yoga perspective, the breath is how we unlock power. We learn about where we're powerful through the practice of yoga, which we're going to address in a moment. But this was Guru Prem's way of saying, guess what? The breath is the number one thing. This is where your healing begins. This is where your life starts to heal. This is where your thinking starts to get better. This is where you heal your body, and you start to be able to make your body into your favorite toy, where you start to feel bliss and you start to feel better, and you start to really project a sense of well-being out into the world. And guess what? It's very attractive. It's very, very attractive to people when you are a vital, happy, contented person. Sometimes it's so attractive that people just look at you and they feel better just by being in your presence. And that is the gift that Guru Prem had given me that day. So you see, I was learning in that moment something that no one had ever shown me or told me before. I could use the breath to unlock something, a level of power in my body and in my mind system that was going to help me get to a more advanced level of recovery. Now, we're going to talk a lot about the breath in our group coaching program, which launches on December 3rd, which we'll get to later on. Now, in addition to the breath, I was starting to understand yoga from a new perspective. So most of us think about yoga and we think about the physical practice, which we call asana practice, the asana practice of yoga. And we see across the United States the explosion, right? Everybody's practicing yoga, and it's practically a pastime now. It's just something that a lot of people do. And there's a reason why people are into that physical practice. That physical practice of yoga is detoxifying, strengthening, and it brings us from head down to body. It actually is an embodying practice where we get to move out of the monkey mind, that craziness. Anybody who struggles with addiction, you know what I'm talking about. The key is, how can we get out of here and move down to our heart? Well, imagine a teacher coming up to you and saying, let's say you're having a really rough day, and a teacher comes up to you and says, hey, just relax. And you're kind of like, well, it's just not quite that simple. I'm not relaxed right now. Or, that lovely thing when you're really pissed off and someone says, hey, don't be angry. And you're kind of like, now that you're telling me not to be angry, I'm even more pissed off. So instead of that approach of direct, of like, hey, stop feeling what you're feeling, in yoga, what we might say to you is, stand in your feet in a way that allows your heart to open. Bring your attention to your breath. Notice how full of an inhale you can take. Notice your exhale. Or why don't you pause for 2 seconds at the end of your exhale, and pause for 2 seconds at the top of your inhale. The cues that we're giving are specific cues to bring your attention out of mental, chatter, down into the body. And then we bring the breath into it. And we find that at the end of a yoga class, which very often lasts about 90 minutes, that we find ourselves in an altered state of being, that we've actually transformed ourselves in that 90 minutes. And we feel such a sense of relaxation and joy that we want to come and get that again and again. For me, it was that way. And I realized in recovery that I was able to access a level of joy through the practice, the vinyasa practice of yoga, that I had only ever felt when I was using drugs before. You see, we use drugs and we use substances and we use addictive behaviors for a reason. We don't feel well on some level. We're trying to feel better. Nothing wrong with that. We just want to choose means that are productive rather than destructive. So yoga, it begins as a physical practice. The perspective of yoga that I'm taking these days and that I want people to understand and that I love to share, yoga really is about transcendence. And what I've always been after in my life, and maybe some of you can relate to this idea, I've always been after transcendence in my life. I've wanted to get above. I've wanted to feel better, and I wanted to think clearly, and I want to operate at a really high level for myself. I actually I'm very, very serious about making my life better and progressing through my life. One of my goals, as you probably realize, is I'd like to help as many people as I can get beyond addiction and actually build a life where you could say, wow, I'm thriving in my life. It's incredible. So I spend a lot of time thinking about that and working on that. It means something to me. The process of yoga helps me to transcend the chatter of my mind, helps to bring me into a state of calmness and well-being where I can actually get the download, where I can actually deliver a message that's meaningful and helpful to people. And you guys, probably the people who are practicing yoga out there, you know what I'm talking about, and you can do it too, because you know what it feels like to be in the flow. So yoga leads to transcendence. The way we get there is ultimately we're going to be meditating. And I love sharing the reality that the ancient people who used to practice yoga, the reason they were practicing yoga was just simply to get the kinks out of the body. That by getting the kinks out of the body, the main idea was we'll be able to sit in meditation longer, as long as our body is in shape and cleared of its stuck energy and freed up of anything that was blocking. The whole purpose was just to be able to sit still in calm meditation for long, long periods of time, because they understood that it was in meditation that the actual transformation, the actual transcendence that we were looking for would actually take place there. That we had to develop the stillness, the capability for stillness, that we had to develop a way to be still if we were going to actually access the higher levels of consciousness and the transcendence that any human being is actually after, maybe in particular people who have struggled with addiction. So this perspective of yoga that I take is really all about leading us to a place where we can develop a sense of stillness. Don't get me wrong, the physical practice is very physical. There's a mental practice as well. There's a meditation practice as well. But really where we want to head is to calm the fluctuations of the mind. And what is addiction? If it's not a dis-ease that's centered in the mind. This dis-ease concept I want to cover quickly with you guys. Dis-ease, addiction is a disease. It's a condition. And it has a treatment. And a person, any human being, anybody can move beyond it. I want to remove the mystery for you. You can heal completely from addiction 100%. Now that doesn't mean that once you're healed, now you can go back and use drugs because you're healed from addiction, so let's have at it. No, no, no. If you're healed from addiction, it means you are wholehearted. So you no longer reach outside of yourself to feel better because you've attained a state of what we call in yoga Santosha. Santosha is contentment, but not the contentment like, oh, I'm happy today. Santosha is, I'm so content that I understand that all of my life is happening for me, not against me or not to me. All of my life is happening for me. And so I wouldn't even get rid of the challenges in my life. I wouldn't even get rid of the hard and the sad and the painful parts of my life because I recognize that those are the parts that help me to grow, that help me to learn, that help me to become. So addiction is a disease. And if you break that word up into two words, it's a distance from ease, dis-ease. From this perspective, you can understand that over here is a state of ease and we're looking for that. And over here is where we are, and we just want to close that gap between us and a sense of ease. Now, on a path of recovery, anything that we find, either a practice or a way of being, that helps close the distance between us and ease, that has short-term gain and long-term gain, anything we find like that on the path of recovery is going to be something that we're going to want to do a lot of. Yoga and meditation falls into that category. So that's sort of the beginning sort of concept of what I'm looking at, how I'm looking at yoga these days. Now, I've got a couple of questions from people who have written into me. I want to address some of these questions, and please stay to the end so that I can make sure to get these questions to you. But we're going to continue down this pathway. I want to talk to you now about how you are in the driver's seat of your life. Okay, I'm going to go off a little bit, so forgive me. It's going to be a bit of a soliloquy. In 12-step recovery, we learn about powerlessness. And in the first step, we admit we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. And what I'm seeing in the world of 12-step recovery is many people take that idea of powerlessness and they extend it out into the rest of their life. And that they begin to feel powerless, not just over their addiction, but they start to use that of like, well, I'm powerless over my emotions, or I'm powerless over my thinking, or it just bleeds into all these situations. And what I'm starting to see is, this is not, of course, true of everybody, but I see a lot of people who have a misunderstanding about where they're powerless versus how they're powerful. Now, follow me here. Anybody who's stuck in addiction, just like any human being, is a very creative person. I believe you are an unbelievably creative person. And I believe that if you're stuck in addiction, what you might actually be creating is a world of shit. You might actually be creating a world of darkness, a world of pain, and a world of suffering. And guess what? You're so good at it. if you're stuck in addiction, you're so good at creating that world of pain. And you might even have wondered to yourself, my God, how am I ever going to catch a break? Well, as I said at the beginning, we get ourselves on a path of recovery and we climb out of acute addiction. For me, that was the 12 steps. It actually works. Really powerful system. And it works. And then, I brought in the yoga and the meditation and the healthy diet and all these wonderful things that we will talk about in our group coaching program. Since I have limited time tonight, I'm just going to stay on this tact here. But when you get on the path of recovery, you can admit that you're powerless over your addiction. You can admit that you're powerless over that phenomenon of craving if it gets started in you. But you know what? You're very, very powerful as a creative person. You are creative. So now on the path of recovery, you're going to be creating something else. You're not going to be creating a world of shit. You're going to learn the practices. You're going to learn the principles and the perspectives that you need to become a creator of love, to become a creator of abundance, to become a creator of romance, to become a creator of everything that you would hope to have in your life. And you might say, Tommy, it sounds too simple. I'm in recovery, maybe you're saying, and I've been here for 5 or 10 years. I haven't been able to create those things. That's okay. You haven't learned the rules yet. You haven't learned how to create those things yet in your life. And the best news that I have to offer you is when you learn these principles and when you learn these practices, your body heals, your mind heals, you're operating at a higher vibration, and things start to happen in your life that for a long time, or maybe forever, have not been able to take root, have not been able to take place. Any of us can think of people in our lives, or maybe it's us. We haven't been able to move past a particular hurdle. That's okay. Does that mean that you can't move past the particular hurdle? Of course it doesn't. It means that our approach to it has been off or out of alignment in some way. So we have to find the right way to approach things. I think of the 3 Ds, and I've taught a little bit about this, and I'll share it here. There's 3 things that you really need to achieve a goal. You need desire, you need right direction, and you need discipline, the 3 Ds. Now, desire is like a very, very deep felt desire to do something. Like in my heart of hearts, I'm called to do this. I really want to do this. Think in your own life, anything that you actually need, that you really, really have wanted to manifest in your life, but you've not been able to do it yet. It could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be a level of freedom you haven't had yet, or something in your body you're trying to achieve. You may be trying to lose weight or become more vital and strong, whatever it is. You have to have desire. If you have a heartfelt desire to do it, that's step 1. The next thing you need is you need to know how to do it. So you're going to need good direction. Well, where do you get direction? There's only one place that I've learned to get really good direction, and that's from a teacher. Now, a teacher can take the form of a human being, or it could take the form of a book, or a writing, or something that's been put down in a way that we can absorb it. It could be a video, for example. Every step of the way through my life, I've had a teacher, a therapist, a sponsor. I've had a yoga teacher. I've had a meditation teacher. Every step of the way, I've had somebody help me to the next level. Now, my teacher, Guru Prem, is always saying, we're all beginners to our next step. Well, we just have to learn from a teacher who's taken that next step. What are the things we need to know? So if you're working on trying to catch a fly ball like I was as a child, and you want to catch a ball in the outfield, you talk to somebody who's an outfielder, who's been there, who learned how to actually catch that ball. They'll teach you how to use both hands. They'll teach you how to position yourself underneath the ball, how to judge it. And you'll practice and apply the direction by applying discipline. Here's something that upsets me sometimes when I hear people in recovery say, addicts are just not disciplined people. I think that's absolute nonsense. I think addicts are some of the most disciplined people. Discipline simply means to be a student of, to be a follower of. Again, shadow and light, shadow and light. On the shadow side, when we're stuck in addiction, we're the follower of addictive ways. And boy, are we good at following those ways. But when we get into recovery, we just have to learn how to become a student of the ways and the means that are actually going to be able to help us move further in our lives. It's very simple. So discipline is not a bad word, and it's absolutely attainable. It's just becoming a student of something. So, for example, as some of you know, I'm launching this coaching course real soon. If you come and be a part of the coaching course, we're going to work at being disciples, students of a way known as Recovery 2.0 that really helps people to move beyond acute addiction and help them to build amazing lives, right? We're trying to move beyond the energy of addiction to build a great life. That's the purpose. And so as we go through a 90-day process together, just by showing up each day for the little exercises we're doing, or just reading our quote of the day, or looking at our video of the week, or reading through the section of the Recovery 2.0 book that we'll be covering that week, or writing down our holiday resolutions for ourselves at the holidays, and then writing down our New Year's resolutions, our intentions for the year to come. Just by doing that work, we're showing discipline. And guess what? You show discipline for a very short period of time, and it pays off tremendously. So one of the things we'll be able to do is we'll be able to take manageable little steps towards progressing through the current struggles that we have and getting beyond them. So 3 Ds: desire, direction, discipline. Often somebody has discipline and they'll have some direction. They actually know how to do it. God, I didn't really want to do it. I lacked the desire in the first place. And it just won't work. We have to want to go there. And I assume that you guys want to go there because you're here listening to this webinar and you really want to get to that next level. Let me tell you what it feels like. Before I found the practices and the principles that were going to carry me to this next level of recovery, I felt like I always carried stress in my body and in my mind. Now, here's the interesting thing. When I feel stressed today, now I'm 11 or 12 years beyond where I was when I first met Guru Prem and first developed a deeper understanding of advanced recovery. When I feel stressed today, and of course I feel stressed because I'm a human being, I have practices that will immediately move me back to my center and help me process the stress out of my physical body right away. Before, I had no solution to the stresses of my life. I neither knew how to deal with them in a psychologically adept way, nor did I know how to move stuck energy from my body out. At the beginning of this webinar, we talked about trauma being stuck energy that's unprocessed in the body. I want you guys to hear this. If I could leave anything with you today, we have to move stuck energy out of the body. We have to do it. It's a part of our recovery. You will not learn how to do that through the 12 steps. You cannot learn how to do that in traditional cognitive behavioral therapy. You are going to have to get into mind-body practices like yoga and meditation to help you really move. And my friend Nikki Myers uses the term getting the issues out of your tissues. And that's really what it's about, is moving that stuck energy along. Please take that home and understand we'll do a lot of that. Now, I want to address food, because this is a place, another place where you won't learn strategies for best practices in 12-step reality, in most recovery reality. Of course, the old joke about 12-step programs, the cliche we all carry is, if you go to a meeting, you'll see people huddled together, smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee, and was a sugar event leading into the next. I was completely malnourished. I was a really thin, skinny kid, and I carried a lot of sickness. And I say to people all the time, if you want to understand addiction, understand it is an opportunistic disease. Addiction will take advantage of weakness, physical weakness, mental weakness, nervous strength weakness, endocrine system weakness. It wants to take advantage. It looks for a place where there's weakness, and that's where it can get a foothold. When we eat addictively, as I did in my childhood, we are making our system weaker. That does not mean that you can never have a donut. That does not mean that you can never have some honey in your tea. That does not mean that you can never have any source of sugar. It simply means there is a connection between what you eat and the level of addictive chatter in your head. There's absolutely a connection there. And if you get that, then you know that on a path of recovery, you will have to take a look at your relationship with food if this is going to become a real comprehensive and holistic approach. I work with a lot of young men and plenty of young women who struggle around the food thing. I will watch them binge on sugar. I will watch them binge on caffeine. And after a few days, go figure, they're not feeling too well. And they'll come and they'll say something like, oh, I haven't been able to sleep, or God, I feel so uncomfortable in my body. And I have to remind them, like I want to remind you, addiction, remember, it's a dis-ease, distance from ease. If we're engaging in dietary habits that make our body less comfortable, that make us feel badly, doesn't it make sense that we're going to reach outside of ourselves for something to feel better once again? And of course, we default back to our addictive patterns and our addictive behaviors. You are in the driver's seat of your life. You have an ability to make a choice that is going to help move you forward down a path of recovery. The choice originally will be, this thing's bigger than me, I need some help. Another choice might be, as you find your path of recovery, if you're putting self to that, finding a sponsor and working through the 12 steps. That's really what I call Recovery 1.0. It's not the only path. There are other ways, but that's the most widespread and most successful path. And for me and so many others that I've worked with these last 25 years. And so I really encourage a fresh look at that path. And if you have my book, Recovery 2.0, there's a whole section in the book about best practices for approaching the 12 steps. You're in the driver's seat in your life because you have control over your breath. You can use the breath, as I said earlier, to unlock power in your body. You can use the breath to calm your mind. You can use the breath to change your emotional state. You can even use the breath to enter a meditative state and be able to move yourself beyond what I refer to as the frequency of addiction. The frequency addiction is that energetic attunement in your body. Think of your body like a musical instrument. Every morning, you wake up and you need to tune that instrument once again. Every day we have to do this because our instrument gets out of tune. Well, are you going to tune yourself to the channel of addiction? Just wake up, not do any practices, let your mind run with you and just be at the mercy of your mind for the rest of the day? So that's a choice. Or you can wake up and you can do your mind-body practices and you can eat your healthy food and you can hydrate yourself really well in super simple ways. This is not difficult, you understand? This is not like, oh, I've got to spend 3 hours each morning. No, I'm talking about 15 minutes. You can set yourself up each day for the best day ever, and you can tune yourself to the frequency of recovery, to the frequency of love, to the frequency of possibility. You can meet yourself, you can tune in with yourself, and you can tune yourself beyond the frequency of addiction, which is just absolutely critical for people like us. The way you eat will affect that. The people that you hang out with will affect that. The things that you watch on television or on the internet, that will affect that. Are you engaged in, looking at your iPhone every few minutes? Are you engaged in internet pornography? These are not judgments. It's just simply, if you're involved in those kinds of behaviors, understand it's going to have an effect on your mind, and it's going to have an effect on your body and the way that you relate to the whole world. So these are the basic ideas. You really have to learn how to tap into the breath, how to free the body, how to improve your relationship with food, how to improve your relationship with money, and learning about your mission and your purpose so that you can bring true abundance into your life. And these are really the things that we're going to be going into great depth with through the holidays and into next year on the Recovery 2.0 Move Beyond group coaching program. I'll speak about that for just literally 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm going to get to your questions. So this group coaching program is going to begin on December the 3rd, and we're going to go through the Recovery 2.0 book each week, a section. We're going to cover one of the Recovery 2.0 conference videos each week. So these are videos that cover topics as diverse as nutrition, relationships, 12 steps, the brain and addiction, understanding how to release trauma, everything to do with addiction and recovery from every perspective, every kind of addiction. We get into eating disorders. We get into sex and relationships. We get into drugs and alcohol, of course, and the money addictions. Gambling, spending, over debting. So we're gonna look at all of these things, and we'll be on the phone together, and we'll be interacting just like this for 90 minutes twice a week. So that's 3 hours of work. Mondays and Thursdays we'll meet for 90 minutes. And these calls are going to be recorded. So if you can't meet at the time the call is happening, it'll be recorded and archived. You can look at it anytime for the rest of your life. And we'll go through this process together. One of the most exciting things for me is the fact that this takes place through the holidays. We don't need any reminder that the holidays are an unbelievably triggering time for people. They seem to bring up, loneliness, separateness, difficulty around family, difficulty in our relationship with food. By the time we get to make our New Year's resolutions on like January 2nd, we're already so beaten up that the likelihood of us living out those resolutions is very, very low. So we go through the holidays together as a community. We'll be interacting in a private group together each day. So we'll be posting videos and supporting each other as a group. I'm really excited about this. And we'll get to write our New Year's resolutions 2 weeks before the New Year's come. We're going to begin to work our way into those resolutions as we go. And for those of you who would like sort of a sense of what we'll cover each week, an example would be the second week. In our second week, the week is all about forgiveness. We'll be going deep into the roots of addiction, looking at our family history. We'll be claiming our history rather than blaming. We'll look at our resentments and how to release them. We'll get into the mind-body practices that are going to help us to become present. I will never say to you, why can't you just become present? Why can't you just sit still? Why can't you just stop? Those are ridiculous questions. However, I will bring your attention to your body in ways that can help you to move through some of the mental stuckness that you may have carried around these issues in your life. We're going to go over a video from Gabor Mate, who's a very well-known medical doctor that's done a lot of work around the roots of addiction. And we're going to read through a chapter in Recovery 2.0. That will be a week of work to prepare us for the oncoming holiday season. That's just 1 week based around forgiveness. And of course, that is going to include forgiveness of self, right? One of the most important things, it's got to start with us. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to understand that we do act the way we act for a reason. Now we've got a bunch more time. I want to address some of your questions. If you have any questions about addiction or recovery, hopefully you're commenting or asking your questions right below this box, right on this page. You can tweet out a question, and I've got some people here with me in the room who are helping me to realize what some of those questions are. And so here comes some questions. Let's see. Can I please talk about bulimia and the addiction of binging and purging? No personal experience with bulimia, but my wife has spoken and written quite a bit about it, as that was something that has been a part of her life. So I've learned a lot about bulimia by being in relationship with my wife. What I'll simply say about these food disorders is we are going to have a chance to really get into it in much greater depth on the course. But for tonight, I will say this. Food is linked to our sense of comfort. We can choose to become controlling in our relationship with food. Control is something that anorexics exhibit in their relationship with food, also bulimics. So this element of control and secrecy are core to the bulimic's way of being. Control, one piece of that puzzle is to release the secret of it, and to learn how to bring, in an appropriate way, to learn how to bring community support into your life to help you combat that problem. Much more to say about bulimia and anorexia. Let me continue on to that next question. How do we find the love within? What a beautiful question. In a way, I could say that our entire coaching course is dedicated to exactly that idea. I will tell you that there are practices that I've been involved in the last 10 years, which has helped me to identify what I call the true self. And what has happened for me is I've fallen in love with myself, not in a narcissistic way, not in an arrogant way, but I have touched that core of me, and I recognize that there's a piece of divinity within me, just like there is within you. When you realize this piece, just like Guru Prem said to me, you will fall in love with the core of who you are, and you will be well on your pathway to wholeness in your heart. It will feel like you finally have stopped swimming upstream in life. And I truly wish that for you. And I want to encourage you to come on this course. And hopefully we'll get a chance to work together in that way. Okay, another question coming in here. Is meditation the way of transcending the 4 aggravations? It's an incredible question. If you don't know what the 4 aggravations are, I refer to them in my book and in my work. And the 4 aggravations are negative thinking, self-doubt, procrastination, and resentment. These are the 4 aggravations that I find underlie all addictive behaviors. Negative thinking, self-doubt, procrastination, resentment. So the question is meditating a way or the way of transcending the 4 aggravations? Absolutely, that is a way to transcend these things. The first thing we do is we sit still to be able to see what's going on. We get what I call a spiritual GPS. Tonight talking about the power and the importance of meditation, and we certainly are going to go deep together for 90 days on this course. Next question, how much do you first have to sit? How much do you first have to sort of experience the 4 aggravations and identify them before being able to use the tool of meditation? I think the tool of meditation will help you to see much more clearly what's actually going on. And you'll even come to a point where eventually you'll be able to sense in the body what negative thinking feels like. Not just have it be negative thinking, but you'll feel that as an embodied sensation. And that's when you know you are really on your way to recovery from it, because it becomes a part of your visceral experience, and now you're going to be able to transcend it. Person shares that after 4 years, they're needing more. I encourage that person to please take this 90 days, make a commitment, and we're going to get into certain kinds of meditation which are maybe a little bit different, that use various pranayama or breath exercises that are going to help us to break through. Remember, the idea here is to move beyond that addiction, to attune ourselves beyond the frequency of addiction, and to get to that place of recovery. Next question. Could you comment, Tommy, on how your program might fit into an integral recovery practice? How does brainwave analogy work as a complement to your work? Great. So this is somebody who I have a feeling is involved in the work of Ken Wilber and John Dupuy, which is excellent, amazing work. My personal experience with it is very limited. I cannot speak as an expert on this topic, but what I will say is, as a modality of healing, the brainwave entertainment technology, binaural beats, and these different technologies are the real thing. This is a legitimate methodology, modality for helping us to move into meditative states. I don't currently use them in my work, but I do refer some people who really struggle around meditation to take advantage of those technologies. So thank you for that question. Next question. How can you love yourself during addiction? Wow. The way to love yourself during addiction is to take a step towards getting out of it. If you are stuck in addiction, here's what I would say to you. Do not despair. No matter how many times you have tried to get beyond it, but have not yet been successful, do not despair. There is a way through every block. If you are willing to ask for help, and you are willing to try the 12 steps, I urge you to go to a meeting in the fellowship of your choice. Raise your hand and say, this is my first meeting, or I'm here again and I'm feeling like I need help. If you can do that, that is one of the most powerful acts of self-love. Now, if you're on and you've already dropped your drug of choice or your addictive behavior of choice, and you're on that path of recovery, what I will tell you is, if you're working on the frequency of addiction and releasing other addictions from your life, it could be codependency, it could be cigarette smoking, sex addiction, porn addiction, technology addictions, gambling, whatever it is that you're working on, make it your business to ask for the help that you need to get through that. Don't go alone through it. Remember, we have to have teachers. And we need one more thing. We have to have a community of support. We absolutely have to have a community of support in order to transformation. We never do it alone. It's an illusion. If you think that it's going to happen alone, you have to get beyond that thought. It's just simply not true. We need a spiritual path, a transformational path, and we need a community of people to support us as we move down that path. That's really what the Recovery 2.0 group coaching program is all about. We will consistently, day by day, week by week, work on this energetic attunement, work on coming together in this way, leveraging this technology, and we will move ourselves beyond a place of our current struggles, of our current awareness, of our current level of consciousness, if you will. Any more questions, guys? What do we got? So I'm gonna go with you guys another 5 minutes. I know we're over an hour. Forgive me. I wanna just keep going to try to answer your questions. So here we go. One question: could you please share that one technique that you mentioned you would at the beginning? Haha. Let's get into our promised. Come sitting up nice and tall. This is very, very, very simple. And it's so simple, in fact, that you're going to think, wow, I wonder if this is really going to work. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to put this into practice, and I want you to try for yourself. Lift your right hand up. This is my right hand. Block off your right nostril. Close your eyes and begin to inhale only through the left nostril. Inhale and exhale. Long, deep breathing through the left nostril only. We're going to go for 1 minute right here, just 1 minute together. Do this. Nice and slow. Inhaling and exhaling through the left nostril only. Take your last inhale. And a full exhale. Release your hand down. Close your eyes for a moment and allow your breathing to return to normal, and just notice how you feel. Very good. Whatever your experience is, the most important thing is that you just feel your own experience. Why do we breathe through the left nostril? The left nostril is the calming channel. It's a particular energy channel that we refer to in yoga as the Ida. That's IDA, the Ida channel. When we breathe through the Ida channel only, it's calming, it's cooling, it's that lunar or feminine energy. It really chills us out. And get this, when you breathe through the left nostril, it breaks through craving. When you breathe through the left nostril only, it breaks through your craving. So if you're craving the chocolate cake, if you feel like you're angry and you're craving letting someone know how pissed off you are, you excuse yourself, you sit down, you bring your right hand up, you block the right nostril, you close your eyes, and for 3 minutes, you breathe through the left nostril only. You don't have to take my word for it. Please put it into practice. And even if you do it when you're not craving, you'll be able to bring yourself to a more calm, quiet place. If you're looking for that calmness, if you need to chill out, and it's an excellent, excellent exercise to do before you go to bed at night. Any of you people who struggle around insomnia, sleeping, this is going to be critical. If we're not well rested, we get into that tired thing and we just cannot operate at optimum. So left nostril breathing, that is my gift to you right now. And you'll think, some of you will think, wow, so simple. I just am not sure that that's really going to do it for me. Trust me, put it into practice, into your life. Don't have contempt prior to investigation. You've got to give it a try. So here's the last question of the night. Even in recovery, I feel that I have replaced one addiction for another. Me too. How can I become whole and stop trying to escape myself? Well, that's what we've been speaking about all night tonight, is this idea of getting beyond the frequency of addiction, which is a perspective on looking at addiction as an energetic frequency that until we can move beyond that frequency, we will be attracting addictive thinking, we will be attracting addictive people and addictive circumstances into our life. But the minute that we can learn how to tune ourselves beyond that frequency of addiction, you will be on the path to having a whole heart. We will get into this. We will get into the addiction story. We will get into family history. We will learn about how to release the blocks that have held us back from the version of ourselves that we really want to be. We will learn about food in our life. We will learn about money in our life. We will go the full distance into unlocking what's waiting for you on the other side of blockage. So I wish it for you. This is an opportunity for us to do 90 days in 90 days together. I think you know that if you sign up for this course, we're going to send you an invitation so you can invite somebody along to the course for free. So it's really 2 for the price of 1. So hop on board and let's do this work together. And let's go through the holidays together. Let's get into the new year together. We start on December 3rd, but I think you guys have another week or 2 to make a decision before we actually close out the course. So no reason to hesitate. Just jump right on board. And let's bring our hands together at the heart, and we'll close out with the Recovery 2.0 prayer. Take a deep inhale and repeat after me. Universe, put me in the places you want me to be, with the people you want me to be with, doing the things you want me to do. Thank you for the joys and challenges of my life. Amen. All right, you guys, you know the drill. Until we can meet again, recover, ask and despair. Don't you ever give up. There is a way through every block. So much love to you. Hope to see you on this course or somewhere else down the line.